Over the past millions of years, innumerable species of animal and plant life have evolved on Earth. Then, around 10,000 years ago, hunters and gatherers made a discovery that was to change their lives. They gathered wild-growing grains, planted, cultivated, and harvested them. This was the birth of agriculture. Since then, farmers have worked continually to improve their crops. Indeed, over thousands of years, they developed the wheat we eat today. One could say that the very first farmers were also the first genetic engineers in the history of mankind. Wheat, the most important crop for bread, is constantly monitored for better quality, higher yield, and disease resistance. In order to feed the ever-growing population, it is common practice across the world to cultivate huge fields with single species of wheat. This is known as a monoculture. Here you see biodiversity with its multiple species, and here pure monoculture. High biodiversity leads to a stable and beneficial coexistence. If insect larvae infest this plant, it will give off an attractive scent, delivering the message, "Dinner is ready." Other insects then come and devour the harmful larvae. And thus, different species are useful to one another. The defense mechanism of one plant also benefits its neighbors. In monoculture, however, there are no such helpful neighbors. The plants are entirely dependent on the farmer for external help. In the absence of such beneficial neighbors, farmers resort to pesticides to protect monocultures from insects and harmful fungi, such as mildew. But the excessive use of fertilizers and pesticides can alter the soil and groundwater, causing long-term damage. How can agriculture most effectively benefit from biodiversity? Diversity exists not only between species, but also within a species, between genetically different varieties or individuals, distinguishable by their unique genetic code. Genetic diversity is best compared to a piano, which can play an infinite number of different tunes. Its music is rich and varied. On the other hand, low genetic diversity is more like a music box with a single melody that keeps repeating itself. The high-yield wheat grown today has very little genetic diversity. Individual plants from the same field are virtually genetically identical. Biodiversity in a crop field? This doesn't quite work in today's agricultural practice. However, genetic diversity can greatly improve agriculture. On our planet, there are many different varieties of wheat, including some wild species with enormous genetic potential that remains to this day untapped. For example, some varieties of wheat with unusually long roots are able to access nutrients from deep in the soil, while other varieties are more resistant to mildew. Unfortunately, this does not resolve the problem, as these different varieties of wheat would all mature at different times. Such a field composed of different varieties would be useless to farmers, as it would be impossible to harvest. Using genetic engineering, different varieties of wheat could be modified to ensure that they all mature at the same time, while also being disease-resistant, thus safeguarding the entire field. Genetic engineering would also make it possible to tap into the previously unexploited properties of certain varieties of wheat to promote the cultivation of single varieties with high genetic diversity. Monoculture with low genetic diversity. Monoculture with high genetic diversity. Cereal fields with high genetic diversity produce higher yields and require less fertilizers and pesticides. They are better suited to local conditions, are more eco-friendly and sustainable. Green genetic engineering. Genetic engineering in the interest of ecology will play a key role in the future to ensure adequate food supply while promoting sustainable agriculture. This is why the University of Zurich is involved in various fundamental research projects.